Hi everybody! Today I wanted to tell you a little bit more about our best-selling pattern, the Bellissima Blouse. Now this pattern is one that I've had in my range for quite a long time now, but it's a firm favourite, a pattern that I go back to time and time again, and so do so many of the members in the Weekend Sewing Club now that it's been included with the membership. I'll tell you a little bit more about that and what you get as a member on top of the basic pattern in just a little bit. But for now, let's go through the features of the Bellissima Blouse. So we've got a nice, neat fitted collar here, which can be done up for a really neat and smart look. Now I really like this worn with like a little necktie. So Sandra Costa from Sequin Girly Creates has done lots and lots of versions of this pattern, and she really went to town with all the different things that you could do to hack the pattern and make it your way. So hop on over to her videos after, I'll link them down in the comments, and see all the things that you can do with this fantastic pattern. It is so versatile. But she created, as one of her variations, a matching necktie, and I love that style. I really want to make a couple of those myself. And of course, making a necktie to go with the tops that you've already got is such an easy way to modernise a garment that you've already got in your wardrobe. So the Bellissima Blouse also features grown-on sleeves with a good bit of movement. They're not too tight, but they're also not a loose, baggy fit. And there's a long sleeve as well as part of the design, which you can see on the front cover of the booklet. It's a nice bishop sleeve that has a good bit of gather into a nice little neat cuff and cuff placket. It sits just below the high hip, and at the back you have the options of a gathered back and a pleated back version. So you've got lots of different ways to make this pattern and really get the best value out of it. Now, if you're in our membership, you can get even better value because the pattern is included in the membership. And Sam from Sequin Girly Creates has done so many variations. We've got advice on how to slim the body, how to slim the arms, how to put fewer gathers in the back, to make it your own way and the silhouette that you like. But then we've also got some additional pattern pieces to make a dagger point collar, a scalloped collar and a rounded collar. So there's so much to do with this. One of my particular favourite makes, which again I can't wait to make myself, and it's firmly on my sewing queue, is the collarless version with a little frill going into the collar and then a little frill added onto the sleeve. And I just think that is going to be so beautiful in some of the beautiful white cotton dobby that I've got. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to making, and you can make too if you join the Weekend Sewing Club membership. So the Bellissima Blouse is a very simple shirt to make. We've got a folded button placket, we've got a two-piece collar which just fits together nice and neatly. Take your time and make sure you trim to reduce as much bulk as possible, and you'll get a nice neat finish. But one of the questions that people ask me the most is how to do the Burrito yoke. So on this pattern we have a yoke at the back, and on the inside that is faced with a yoke in the same fabric, so it's called a self fabric yoke. I really like this way of finishing off garments on the inside. It's used in high-end shirts and tailoring to create a really lovely finish because it conceals all the seams. Saves you having to get your overlocker out for those bits or do anything like French seams. It's just a really nice, neat way of kind of concealing all those edges at the shoulder and at the back. You can also add a bit of top stitching if you want for a really neat finish at the shoulders and across the back yoke seam. So I'm going to show you how to do the burrito step by step in a little video that I've put together, and I really hope this helps you to make the Bellissima Blouse with the burrito and have a lot of fun with it. So the first thing that we're going to do is take our back piece and we're going to run some gathering stitches between the notches just here. If you're pleating your back, you would bring the notches together to create a pleat in the middle, and then just base stitch across the top here. But I'm going to show you the gathered back version. So we then need to take the we then need to take the back outer yoke. Now I've already attached the back outer yoke to the front pieces, which you can do beforehand if you want to. So I'm going to take the back outer yoke and just align it with the edge of the back lower section, the back body section, and I'm going to pin those together. Just matching those notches. And then I'm going to do the same with the other side, skipping this area that we're going to gather for now. And then match those notches. Just pull the gathering stitches out of the way. Okay, and then I'm just going to check that my raw edges are all aligned, which they are, which is great. I'm going to flip the whole thing over so that then I can gather this bit here into this bit here. So we want to take 2 of the gathering threads, preferably the bobbin threads, just because they tend to pull a bit easier. Just make sure that the lower threads aren't getting muddled. And then I'm just going to gather this bit here evenly by pulling both threads at the same time, and then just evening out that gather. And we just want to keep on gathering until the gathered section is the same size as the section that we are trying to match it with. So I would say we're nearly there. That will do for that side. So I'm just going to take this pin, pop it out, and just pop it through, just catching both layers of fabric, and then wrap the threads round in a figure of 8. And this is a good idea because it means that if you then need to make any adjustments, you haven't knotted your gathering stitches, you've still got a bit of room for moving and adjusting. Okay, and then we're going to take the other side and just give that a little pull, and that just helps to make sure that all the gathers are nice and even. So we can see here that our gathered edge is now meeting our non-gathered edge and matching. And again, I'm just going to pop that pin out and pop it through just a little and wrap those gathering threads round in a kind of sort of figure of 8. Doesn't have to be super neat, but just needs to be secure. So poke those pins down a little so they don't fall out, and then I'm just going to use my thumb just to kind of tickle those gathers so that they're all even. You can see we've got a section here that's not got lots of gathers. This bit's really heavily gathered, so just going to convince those gathers to just kind of even out a little, and then give the whole thing a little pull downwards. That's a really good way to kind of set the gathers and make sure that they're all nice and neat. And then we can align that gathered edge with the flat yoke raw edge. Put in a few pins. You don't have to go absolutely crazy with pins here, but quite a few pins does help to get a nice even gathered section. Okay, then I'm just going to stitch across here. Okay, so I've stitched the back gathered section onto the yoke. Now it looks a bit like this. So the next thing that you would do is to attach the fronts onto the shoulder seam of the yoke, which I've already done here. Flip those out again. And it's a good idea to press the seams towards the back yoke at this point. So then I'm just going to roll up the front so it sits in this back outer yoke section. Do the same with the other side of the front. And then I'm going to do the same with the back. Give that little fold and roll. Okay, so now I've kind of got like a little kind of Cornish pasty croissant-y thing going on with all of the main outer pieces all kind of rolled up onto the yoke. So the yoke is like the bread, and the front and back body pieces are like the sandwich filling. So now we're going to make the sandwich. So, or the burrito. It's a sandwich burrito. I'm not sure. I'm obviously just hungry, calling everything after food. So the next thing we're going to do is place the yoke, the second yoke, so this is the inner yoke, over the top with the right side facing downwards. So the right side should be facing the right side of the outer yoke. We pop that in there. And then again, we're just going to pin that in place. And we want to make sure when we're doing this that we're not catching any of the front bits. So actually, when I'm pinning, I'm just going to put the pins in like this, perpendicular, so not in line with the stitching. And the reason that I want to do that will become nice and clear in a minute. It means that I can turn the garment over and I can stitch just within this line. So I want to be stitching towards the yoke side of the seam allowance. So when I did this first seam allowance, I kind of did it about 1.3 centimeters, because the seam allowance on the Bellissima blouse is 1.5. So the next row of stitching I'll do just slightly in, so that'll be the 1.5, and it will just make sure that there's no original stitching, kind of holding stitching showing on the outside. So let's just flip that back so it doesn't get too confusing. Oh, burritos come undone. So just have a little feel of those seams to make sure that I've not caught anything in, and I can feel that there's only the 2 layers, or the 3 layers I should say. There's none of the kind of rolled up layer there, so that's all good. And then we'll just turn it round and do the same with the bottom. Just make sure that this is out of the way. Okay, so once you've got the ends pinned, you can go to the middle. It's always a good idea when pinning a seam to pin the ends, then the middle, and then fill in from there. And obviously if you've got any notches or anything like that, you can then match those. Okay, so I can feel there's a little fold in there. So all I'm going to do is just open this up. I'm just going to kind of poke my fingers in there and just make sure that everything's sitting nice and flat. And then when I come to sew that, it should be all nice and flat. So you can see here I've got my little burrito sandwich, like so. I'm going to turn it over, and then I'm going to stitch just inside all of these stitching lines. Okay, so I've got my nice little roll all stitched. You can see I've just stitched within my lines here, at the shoulders as well. And then I'm going to make the magic happen. So I'm going to take these front pieces and I'm going to pull them through the neckline, like so. Like this. And then I'm going to encourage the rest of the garment to come through the neckline as well. And then we find that we have a lovely little gathered back section, gathered into our yoke at the top. And then we have our front joined to our yoke as well. And then when we turn this over, we've got a lovely finished back yoke as well. Now the next thing that I would do with this is to press it all nice and flat. So as you're pressing, just pulling the pieces apart, making sure that you don't flatten these gathers too much. Just press the top of the gathers. You don't want to be pressing all the way down because it kind of takes some of the life out of the gathers. And then just pressing to make sure that that side is nice and flat, and the same on the fronts. And then I would run a basting stitch around the neck, just hold the 2 layers together, and just here to hold the 2 layers together as well. And then you can continue making your gorgeous Bellissima blouse, or any shirt or blouse that you want to have a nice contrast, neat burritoed yoke on the inside of. Happy burritoing, guys! So I hope you found that little video helpful, and you'll have the confidence to brave the burrito. It really is such a lovely way of finishing off garments. And you don't just have to use it for yokes for the back of garments as well. You can use that technique to make facings on tops and dresses, and it's just a really fun way of finishing off a garment. So you can grab a copy of the Bellissima Blouse in PDF and paper format now from my website. So go grab it while you can. Or better still, at the end of this month, join the Weekend Sewing Club membership and you'll have access to not only this pattern, but 13 other amazing patterns, plus a brilliant community of sewist friends to sew along with, and heaps of tips and tutorials in the membership portal. Not forgetting the Facebook group where you can ask me questions at any time. So you've always got a designer on tap. Until next time, happy sewing!